So hi everyone, I'm back with the Shark, the E38. I trailered it up here last night. It had to be recovered. It's been off the road for about a year and a half after that massive Euro trip to Austria, Slovenia, Italy, Germany, France. Unfortunately, after that, it just got kind of left and neglected. The next time I went to get it out for its MOT, it was in limp mode. It had an error code, had a few error codes related to the idle airspeed. It's got a few other issues that needs to be diagnosed as well. So I'm here working on it. Done a lot of trailering this weekend, excuse the eye bags. We had the track day at the Mini Rally Challenge, and then I went to get this. I had to do some horse transport, and yeah, just to and froing. It's just been amazing. I've done about 1,000 miles this weekend, so I'm knackered. But we're looking at this now very quickly, seeing if we can get it out of limp mode and get a fresh MOT on it. So I'm mid-procedure trying to get to the idle air control valve here. It might be a bad connection, it might be blocked, it might be gunked up, but basically what it does, it's essentially a sort of let-by system. Instead of using the throttle body, it meters the air into the intake at idle and at low RPMs, and the characteristic that I'm getting is kind of showing me that this might be the problem. I've got a code P505 which says something is wrong with the idle system. It doesn't tell you what, and this might be it. So I'm just going to take it off, clean it, check the connections, and see what's going on. The little connection here, this is obviously all original BMW, but that might be something to do with it. There's a nasty kink in that hose. If it's gone brittle, it might have cracked, and it might be letting air by there. This little Jubilee clamp here, which is not aftermarket, that is BMW, that was actually loose, so it might be letting air by there, so it might have a sort of like intake leak, which might be throwing the code, but we'll get it out and check it out. When you're doing this, obviously you've got to be very careful that you don't drop anything down there, because you've got your single throttle body and butterfly down there, so I'll check that's not obstructed or stuck in any way. And yeah, you've just got to take a fair bit of stuff off to get to this. It's all quite tightly packed. This is the 2.8 obviously, but it could be worse. You know, the E38 is quite a big engine bay, so it could be worse. So we've had that out. That valve there is all good, that's loose, and then obviously these haven't been off in maybe 10-20 years. Just put a bit WD-40 on them and they slip off nicely. So let's get this done and see if we can get that code off. So that's the part out. Unfortunately, when I was pulling it off, I split the lower intake hose. I guess it's just old and a bit decrepit, so I'll have to get a new one of those. I might be able to test it at the moment by just leaving that open to atmosphere, because that's the intake side, I believe, and that's the one that goes to the engine. So that probably be right open to atmosphere, and then I'll just have to not mess up the mass sensor, I'll just have to blank that off with a Coke bottle lid, zip tied, Jubilee clipped on there just to test it, so there's no leaks in the intake. And there's the butterfly, looks all decent, nothing in there, no, not too much Coke around the edge. But yeah, let's clean this up. I believe you should be able to hear the kind of valve in here kind of rattling when it's free and rotatable, but at the moment it isn't, so that just might need a clean. And there's basically a spindle running through the centre with a little motor on the end, and when I took it out, the spindle I think was seized, and you can see kind of like a conical, I don't know what they call that, sort of like a impeller shaped butterfly in there, and that now, if we stick it on its end, that can freely move. See that going up and down, and when you shake it, you can hear it kind of opening and closing like that. When I took out the car, when I shook it, it was solid, so it was just a little bit of carbon soot and dust that was stuck in there. I didn't even have to put any liquid in there, I literally just shook it and blew in it, and it's freed up. I've now cleaned it with a bit of contact cleaner, a bit of IPA, and it seems to have loosened up, so we'll stick it back on the car and see what happens. But yeah, it's probably the original part. It's I think it's probably Bosch. Ooh. Right, so hopefully we've got somewhere. The idle control valve, when I took it off the car, was stuck. It wasn't moving. I gave it a quick clean and it's freed up, and now it's twisting in its body on its spindle nicely. You can see here when we're running the car and blipping the throttle, it is opening. Whether it's opening on the actuator or it's opening because of the vacuum from the intake, I'm not quite sure. I've read the codes. I'm now getting another code for the MAF kind of circuit. I don't know if it's the actual sensor itself. Inside, it looks nice and clean. The element's all good. It's not oily. So I'm not sure it's that. I think it might be related to now the massive intake leak that we've got on that split intake hose. Even though I've bunged it with the draw knob, obviously the idle control valve is now open to atmosphere, and it's just sucking in a load of air, and it isn't sucking air through the intake. So whether that's messing up with it, I don't know. The first thing to do is buy a new intake boot on that lower intake, check the rest of the intake for leaks, and then we'll try again. I don't think it's the MAF, although on the scanner the MAF is reading like 0 grams per second. It's not giving a reading, so maybe it is a dead MAF. So hopefully not, because these aren't cheap. Got the new intake hose. It's sat just there on the engine. This one from Gates. It wasn't too bad. It was about 18 quid. And I've just installed it, uninstalled it, because when I put my hand on the butterfly on the throttle body, it wouldn't actually open very easily, and the throttle cable wasn't opening it either. Now on this, I think it's a hybrid system with an electronic actuator, but it's not fully drive-by-wire. It is primarily operated by the cable, but the cable is on like a slipping clutch, and so the electronic actuator can move it independently of the throttle cable, which is needed for the cruise control, I believe. So you can't actually just yank the throttle cable to open the butterfly, which would be probably like a failure mechanism. So they've done it very carefully, so it only requires a small amount of torque before that throttle won't damage or won't engage the spindle. However, the spindle was actually seized, and I'll show you that now. So here's the throttle body. You've got the cable actuator on the right hand side. You can see that cable's actually nearly at the end of its slack take up, so that probably needs replacing at some point. And then all that black gunk is the carbon that I've dissolved with a mixture of alcohol and WD-40 in the butterfly, around the butterfly. And it wasn't actually opening when I pushed it. It now is, and it's now operated by the spindle as it should be, which is probably why the car was showing that fault code and going into limp mode on idle. So we'll give that another bit clean. We'll soak up all the crap, but now it is, you can put your finger in there and nicely push the butterfly. There's the new intake pipe, and then the ICV is all cleaned and operating freely. So let's put it all back together and see what happens. Right, she's all back together. Got it all back, and I've got all the Jubilee clips accessible in future, unlike BMW, who put them all facing downwards or something else, which is very odd. I've tensioned up the throttle cable with the outer just down there, so new hoses in. Let's fire in the hole. Right, let's try it. Ooh, nice little rev. Check tail lights. Right, I think I might have added a bit too much tension to the throttle cable, because we're idling at about 1700 RPM, but it's idling so much better. It's not lumpy at all. It wouldn't even go to 1700 RPM before. So the butterfly on that throttle body is probably just open and a pinch now, and it's burning off the alcohol and WD-40 that went in there as well, no doubt. But I think hopefully that's a win. Let's give it a little blip. Oh, she's back, baby! She's back! Oh, and the fuel lights come on. Bash! So yeah, I think that's fine. I just obviously need to go and figure out what's going on with the tension on that throttle cable. It's staying on, which is not ideal from cold, but I think we're good. So the idle speed is only normally controlled by the ICV opening and closing. The butterfly should actually remain fully closed at idle, so I think I've now opened it by adding too much tension. So let's go and sort that out. Just adjusted the cable down. We're back in business. All 6 Bavarian pots banging away. So that's one of many jobs of recommissioning the E38 728i. 25 years old now, this car.
and it's amazing how badly they go when they sit. I mean, since I left it sitting, look at the headlining. It's encapsulating and romantic, that pillowy vibe, so I might just leave that. But yeah, it seems like the engine's purring away smoothly. It's gone out of limp mode, the MAF fault's gone, the idle speed fault has gone, so she's hanging in there. And just listen to the flywheel weight on that. But yeah, next job, I don't know, maybe some body work, maybe dread to think. We'll look underneath it, and join me in the next one to get the E38 back on the road and get an MOT on it. Cheers.